Okay, I'm back for more torture, but I'm determined to watch these meetings. I want to hear these meetings. It's like torture, having to sit through this, but nobody watches it, so I'm going to take it on myself to watch it and post my thoughts, even though nobody cares. But I want to know what they're doing over there.
Or not amplified in sort of a traditional sense. Now I understand we want to, try to listen to everyone and all that, but I really feel like in those conversations and in those recommendations, we need to think about power and race and how privilege shows up.
Yeah, they talk about that, don't they?
Who's recommending these things. And I guess my question is, are we trying to get consensus from everyone, or what is, I guess, what is the type of recommendation that we are ultimately seeking from? Because I do think that layer of adding equity is really important, so that, yes.
They do like to talk about equity endlessly, don't they? And there's no equity. I'm going to say it again. There's never been any equity, and there's not going to be any equity. But I guess this is their big talking point now in government. You just keep talking, saying it, and eventually the public believes it. I know that's how brainwashing works. So, yeah, this whole equity is just garbage. I mean, there is no equity. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yes, voices can be heard, but again, voices that are more marginalized, traditionally not heard, can also be more amplified.
No, great question, Director Wade. And I guess what I would say is,
Ozzy.
July, I think it was, or when we did the board briefings, we are centering this conversation on Black.
Ozzy, get it together.
They're so important. So I understand the system and how they feel and what they believe the strategies could make them more safe and welcoming on us. So, and to be fair, and will remain so. And the majority.
What's the problem here, man?
Culturally specific, underrepresented. And so we're going to share what we find. We know.
Bulletin.
We're thinking.
I can't hear you, Ozzy.
Short, mid, and long-term areas of work. But this process was work with our equity lens and will follow going forward. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to be able to come up with some things that can really help the system to be frank, grow ridership and just really be more responsive. And so I look forward to bringing that back to you all in November. All right, thanks again.
Great, thank you. And sorry, my audio might be just kind of cutting in and out, so there might be a little bit of a lag.
I think we heard it. Thank you. Okay, any other comments, President Warner, on this one that I'm not able to see on my screen?
I don't see any right at the moment. Any other board member wish to ask? No, Doug, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm having a few technical challenges myself here. So, John, thank you again. Just moving along on my updates here, because there are a lot. The Steel Bridge wrap up, I just want to let people know it was a very successful project. Thanks to so many people internally and our contractors, Stacey Whitbeck and others, wrapped up August 30th. It was on time, within budget, just slightly less actually. This was actually, normally I don't comment on all these projects, but this was kind of history-making for TRIMET in several ways.
Let's hear it.
Firstly, it was the largest capital improvement project in our whole 50-year history. So,
well, what? How much did they spend on this? I have no idea. I don't remember the resolution on this one. Let me do a little investigating while he's talking here.
So it's extremely complex. It has been years in the making.
I'll never
and it literally involved every single department in all of TRIMET. It was our longest ever shutdown of actually just short of a month.
Wait a minute.
It was also completed during the pandemic, which is actually one of the significant risks that always kept me awake, that if we get all the track ripped up and it becomes a hot zone for the COVID, then...
No, when you're outside, your risk is pretty low. It's closed areas. Okay, if you're in close proximity to people in closed areas.
How do we get out of our own trouble here?
So,
but anyhow, the team did a great job. The mitigation plans were well well done, led by Steve Witter, Sam Dessou, and a whole team with them. It was also the highest number of employees for any project that signed up as ride guides, bar none of any project, whether it be the Orange Line opening or other ones. So this was an example of all hands on deck, and I know I did five shifts out there myself, and I'll tell you, being in front of the product really helps you eliminates all the issues, and you get to see, yes, almost everybody wearing a mask. It was great to see. So the mask wearing issue is, I think we're very much the exception side, if that's any example. Right. So it really was a team effort, so I just can't thank them enough.
That's it?
Next one I'd like to move to, we've only got a couple more updates here for you, is I'd like to, as was introduced to Finance and Audit Committee, I'd just like to cover off the year-end audit report. So Julie Desimon, Ashley Austin, and Rachel Tarver, I think they're here from Moss Adams now. If you can maybe unmute, and I'll maybe turn it right over to you to update the board on the year-end audit report.
Perfect. Thanks, Doug and board, for giving us some time. We'll try to make this as efficient as possible. We did just meet with the audit committee, the audit and finance committee, finance and audit committee, get the acronym, in-depth discussion on the audit. So what we want to do today is talk to you a little bit about where we're at with the audit, what we have issued, what we have not issued, and
all right, this was controversial. The Moss Adams was what I'll never find the fucking who knows where that's going to be.
Give you some required communication and give you a little bit of time, or as much time as you'd like, to answer any questions that you have during the audit process. So we've been engaged as far as the financial statement audit to audit the financial statements under both generally accepted auditing standards and generally accepted government auditing standards. Both of those opinions have been issued, and both of those opinions are a clean opinion in the current year. The one change that we have that we normally present to you at this time is the single audit or the uniform grant guidance audit. Typically, we do the majority of the procedures at the same time. Oh, thank you. At the same time as our financial statement audit, which we've done. The problem this year lies in the about $118 million, $115 million of the of the CARES Act funding that got
wait. I'm not paying attention. I can't get distracted. Let's go back. I'm sorry.
Next one I'd like to move to, we've only got a couple more updates here for you, is I'd like to, as was introduced to Finance and Audit Committee, I'd just like to cover off the year-end audit report. So Julie Desimon, Ashley Austin, and Rachel Tarver, I think they're here from Moss Adams now. If you can maybe unmute, and I'll maybe turn it right over to you to update the board on the year-end audit report.
Perfect. Thanks, Doug and board, for giving us some time. We'll try to make this as efficient as possible. We did just meet with the audit committee, the audit and finance committee, finance and audit committee, get the acronym. In-depth discussion on the audit. So what we want to do today is talk to you a little bit about where we're at with the audit, what we have issued, what we have not issued, and give you some required communication and give you a little bit of time, or as much time as you'd like, to answer any questions that you have during the audit process. So we've been engaged as far as the financial statement audit to audit the financial statements under both generally accepted auditing standards and generally accepted government auditing standards. Both of those opinions have been issued, and both of those opinions are a clean opinion in the current year.
All right, hold on. Here we have some of it here. Steel Bridge. Okay, let's see what it was. See, if you know where to look, you can find this shit. Okay, here's all the fucking baloney. Okay, it says not 1 million. It's $2 million. So what is this? What is this? This is not the actual thing. This is probably just the planning part on this. This is not the whole thing. It can't be. Let me see. For Steel Bridge signals. Okay, that's just equipment. That's not for the work. So that's one of them.
The one change that we have that we normally present to you at this time is the single audit or the uniform grant guidance audit. Typically, we do the majority of the procedures at the same time. Oh, thank you. At the same time as our financial statement audit, which we've done. The problem this year lies in the about $118 million, $115 million of the of the CARES Act funding that got funneled through the FTA. The FTA did release a Q&A saying what the requirements under the program authoritative in nature, and there is a CARES compliance supplement that will be coming from the federal government at some point. That has not yet been issued. The regular compliance supplements that originally were supposed to come out in April didn't come out until August, so we're waiting on that now. So what we did do is we did finish all the testing we could. We compared all the applicable expenses and what we sampled to what the Q&A said was required. We found no discrepancies in our testing at this point, but at this point we are on hold waiting for that CARES supplement to come down to see if the feds are going to require any additional testing that we aren't expecting at this point. So that's where we sit. Your uniform grant guidance audit is not due until March 31st. 31st. But the feds are.
Okay, here's another one. Okay, CH2M Hill, one of the big goddamn industrial complexes that sucks down the money like it's no tomorrow. See, there's multiple contracts for that work, and who knows what they really did. Okay, so they already had a contract for $1,620,000. They just gave them an extra $700,000. Yeah, they just canned out the money like water, man. Okay, they just handed out like water. And look at all this pork here. You know, if you ever want to look at the pork, all you got to do is go back here, and you can find it all. There's like an unbelievable pork going through this agency. And they have it all listed here. Oh my God. Just shocking. All right, let's just stick to one thing at a time.
At this point, we're handcuffed by the feds, and we'll wait until that comes out. So the goal is, we heard late fall, which I'm not sure what that means to DC. So we'll see where that comes down. Our hope is that we can get this all done and issued by the end of December. So that's where we're at this. For the minimum standards compliance audit and our audit of the compliance with the 2001 revenue bonds, which are also clean opinions. The last thing I want to state really quickly in this piece is
they can't even make their sound work.
We went to 100% virtual audit. One thing we had to ask for is a lot of additional information this year, and that's because your operations changed so drastically. The first 3 quarters were pretty standard quo or status quo, and then COVID.
Look at this. Look at this. The sound doesn't even work. What's the point of this if you can't hear it? Okay. God damn you people. All right, let's see if we can find this.
I'm going to cancel police response at this time, and I copy she walked up College and then turned towards the freeway. Okay. So 81, if you see her there at College.
There it is.
81. Train 81. 81 brings the train up into the terminus. I don't know if she actually got it on me or nothing, but she did spit my way. Okay, can I confirm your number is 7192? 7108. 7108, copy. I'm still on the phone with 911. You are okay? You don't need any checkup or anything? He went, no, I'm all right. I just don't want her to get back on my train. I copy that. And the last report from G4S was it looked like she was walking up 6th. So if you see her, let me know before you open your doors.
81 copy. Yeah, 2225. I'm here at 5th and Jackson on train 81. I have a young lady that's not obeying to get off the train at all.
Okay, can you get a physical description, please?
She's not got this.
No, sir. She's just telling me to give her a minute. It's been like 3, 4. 2225.
2225?
Yeah, 2225. The young lady just assaulted the operator, spit on her.
Okay, here's the first call.
Okay. I've got police on the way.
Oh, there it is.
And 9503,
okay.
I think you're... Oh, wait.
He got them all together here, so back to what I was doing now. The sound is
management procedures, making sure we had an understanding, and we were asking for things outside of what I would consider our norm and our first cut at what we call our prepared by client listing. To actually sit here to, I think is just a testimony to the incredible amount of work and hard work and focus of your finance and accounting teams. From starting with Dee, Kara, Eric, and the entire teams would jump on video calls with us, which is sharing.
I tweeted this.
That's here today. So we really appreciate all the hard work, the flexibility, and just the perseverance to get through what ended up being just a very strange year and continues to be a very strange year.
I've never heard a bad audit of TRIMET ever. Her sound is cutting out.
And then Ashley will continue on with some of our required communications, and then we'll open up for questions.
Yeah, well, too bad we can't hear you.
Thanks, Julie. So as she mentioned, we are required to communicate certain matters to you all. First, as a reminder, it's our responsibility to express an opinion on the financial statements and plan to perform the audit to obtain a reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free from material misstatement. Meaning we apply auditor judgment when designing and conducting the audit, and we don't look at every transaction. If there are any changes in accounting policies, we are required to bring them to your attention. So during the year, management did implement a change in accounting for the debt service fund to the budgetary basis. We reviewed the update and verified that the updated policy was compliant and were comfortable with the change. There were no changes to management judgment or accounting estimates during the year. There was one adjustment made as a result of our audit procedures over capital asset disposals. During this testing, we noticed that an asset was improperly retained in the capital asset account.
What?
And after thoroughly investigating, the matter was quantified and corrected by management, and the impact is now correctly reflected in the financial statements.
Oh, there was a mistake.
Part of this packet. The adjustment was to record the loss on sale, which was retained on the district's books at year end.
Oh, they did catch an error there. I can't really understand what it was, but.
Ashley, if you want to continue through our final required communications.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel. So we are also required to talk to you about any management consultation with other accountants that occurred. This is more opinion shopping, getting at opinion shopping. None of those consultations occurred during the year that we are aware of. There were no disagreements with management. This is really getting at if there was a disagreement in terms of an accounting transaction or an entry that we were proposing, or just any sort of accounting treatment that management decided to record in their books and records during the year. There were no disagreements during this year. There were no difficulties in performing the audit. As Julie mentioned, we did perform the audit completely remotely, but we were still provided all of the required documentation that we requested and needed to look at as part of our audit procedures. We still were able to have access to all the individuals that we wanted access to. So no difficulties in performing the audit this year. There were no issues. There were no issues discussed with management prior to our retention as your auditors. We're also required to talk to you a little bit about whether there are any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies as a result of our audit. There were none of either at this point. If there are any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified as a result of the additional testing, if we have to do any additional testing as a result of the CARES Act funding, the compliance supplement that's released later this fall, we will be sure to communicate those items to you. We did have a few best practice recommendations that were discussed with management verbally throughout our audit procedures, just because we do work with so many transit agencies and other governmental entities. Those are just best practice recommendations that we identify based on our work throughout the government sector.
What's this?
And then we finally did have a few internal control recommendations that were discussed thoroughly with the Finance and Audit Committee, and we will be issuing a written communication upon issuance of all of our audit reports, which includes the uniform guidance audit that we are holding until we receive the final compliance supplement from the OMB. That wraps up our required communications, so just want to open it up to the board for any questions.
So everything's good as usual, right? That's what we always hear. Nothing new there.
Any comments or questions from the board? And Travis, I know this is the time of year you live for. Is there anything you wanted to add?
I just unmuted myself so that I could speak. And as everybody knows, everybody thinks holiday season is the most wonderful time of the year, but it really is audit season. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I look forward to this. Ultimately, I just want to make a couple quick comments. First and foremost, the Finance and Audit Committee reviewed, like I said earlier, had a brief preview of all of this information, and we gave our questions and comments briefly there.
They rubber stamped it all.
Fully support what the report has identified. And then I also want to just continue to give accolades to Eric and Kara on our finance team, and of course Steve Berkshire and the entire finance team in regards to all of the great work, not only with the audit, but continuously throughout the year. I get the opportunity to see a number of audits, and the cleanliness of our audit, the speed of our audit is always something that's very impressive for an organization our size. So I continue to hold that as an incredible hallmark for the leadership that we have all the way from the top in regards to the excellence that we present every single year. And that's also shown through the consistency of receiving the AAA rated debt.
That's why this has no credibility, because it's always good, and they're always bragging about how good they are. That's why there's no credibility, because when you're always good all the time, every year, it's the same. You're saying there's never been any mistakes in 20 years that I've been watching this shit. Obviously, it's not credible.
The AAA rated debt from the rating agencies, all of that stuff is kind of the outcomes of the great work that we do throughout the year so that we can lead to an audit of this type of excellence. So my hat's off to the entire team as we provide leadership in the space. And I also want to thank Moss Adams for being able to pivot in this time of COVID, as well as our team, to get the audit done 100% virtual, which is always something that's a little bit tricky when we don't have the ability to come on site.
It's not tricky. You can do everything online. You can do that for years now. But COVID world order, this is the reset they talk about. We're being forced by the world elite to do things in a certain way, and we're just puppets in their schemes. And
do our product.
Shut up.
Of documents and information.
Jesus, he drives me
in
crazy.
Person. So, again, the Finance and Audit Committee has reviewed all this information also, and recommends that the audit be accepted. And ultimately, again, thanks go out to the entire team, Moss Adams, and our team here at TRIMET.
Thank you, Travis. Are there any other comments or questions by the rest of the board?
No, there wasn't.
I see none. So again, what you just heard from Travis is a good piece of work by staff.
All right, here's the Moss Adams. Here's the one they hated. Moss Adams took a look at this. They said no. Yeah, no. Yep, look at this. If the proposed metro tax, the total taxes on wages, we could be up $262. Wow. When the existing local income taxes on individuals and marginal would be 19.5. So this is really bad. Really bad, really bad. All right.
A good piece of work by our auditor, and as usual, a great result from the work. So again, everybody is to be congratulated. I don't believe we need to take action on this, do we, Mr. General Manager?
No.
Okay.
So thank you to all for this one, and I'm going to ask the board to indulge me. I know this has been a long GM report, may break the records, but we've got one more item to cover off, and that is really around our business plan. This is really setting the stage. I'm going to ask Alan Lehto to come on about just to review with the board. How did we do last year? Where were we over? Where were we equal? Where were we under? And this really sets the stage for a week from now, where we're going to have the board strategy session that starts to kick off, which you thought was just finishing up last year. We're really already looking ahead to next year and over the rolling 5-year plan that we have. So this really helps allow the board over a week to maybe let it sink in a bit, and then we'll pick this up. We will pick this up just a week from now to set the stage for the development of the next strategy. So Alan, over to you.
Great, thanks, Doug. Hopefully you all can hear me, and I will be sharing my screen for a presentation.
I like this Lehto guy. I like him. I don't know why, I just do.
Here, so please bear with me for a moment while I get that up and going. Just stop me at any point if you can't see something or you can't hear me. But I'm going to kind of buzz through this because we've got
let's see what he has.
A fair number of measures and not a lot of time to go through them. All of this information, of course, it will be available to you afterwards. And we'll be talking more at the board strategy session next week about business plan and in November as well. So for the update for the business plan, this is for the end of FY 2020, so really a June 30th, 2020 snapshot. Of course, all of this is supporting our goals and our vision, mission, values. So as the quick reminder, I think you all know this, but the objectives help us figure out what kinds of key strategic actions we need to do to make progress towards those goals, to support our vision, mission, and values. We look at measures then to learn how our key strategic actions are performing, understand whether we're making progress towards those objectives and ultimately towards those goals. And so that's the purpose of looking back at these measures each year periodically to understand, are we headed in the direction we think we are, so that we can kind of put a magnifying glass, on this and really understand how we're doing. And there's always the opportunity cost, so we have to stay focused on things that are strategic and are really going to do.
There you go, man, right here. Every good thing we do means fewer resources for every other good thing we do. And what's the number one reason for the existence of public transportation? The number one reason is to provide public transportation. Not to do capital projects, not to assist development. It's to run transit. And I just showed you some of the shit they've been funding here. They got a new bus garage. They got Southwest Corridor. They got the fucking division. They got the remodeling POW. I mean, they got all kinds of shit going here that's complete pork barrel shit that didn't need to happen. And they haven't cut any of that.
Do the best we possibly can in terms of providing benefit. I've changed the format for this presentation a little bit since last year. Hopefully this will be easier to read. What you're going to see is a series of graphics that look like this. There are a number of measures that we don't update each month. They get updated once a year perhaps or periodically, and those are going to appear like the ones on the right. Green means on target, yellow means close but not quite, red means off target, up arrow goes with green. That doesn't mean the number has gone up, it just means that we're on target. Down arrow goes with red. But anything that hasn't been updated since we published in March, that's in that pale color. So I'm going to focus only in on those measures that show the bold colors, the dark green, the bright yellow, the dark red. But I'll also note there are measures, obviously, that will be affected by COVID-19 and or the economic impacts. And then there are a few others that are worthy of note that I've got little icons next to. So we're only going to focus on those that are bold, but all of these are available for later review.
All right.
And of course, the most obvious thing that's come up a number of times already is that the COVID-19 has had a huge effect on our ridership and therefore on many other factors, including fares, including any of our measures that have to do, that connect to ridership. even if they're not directly about that. So just keep that in mind as we go through, that it affects a whole range of measures. Also, obviously, the economic forecast and impact. This is just an illustration of that, the unemployment from heading out of
12%.
This is the past 10 years, coming from the recession from before and hitting COVID.
This is 10 years and then Trump.
Dramatically jumping up. And that affects travel demand as well. So going into the measures then, again, I'm only going to hit the highlights.
All right,
satisfied riders, our first goal. There are two measures that have really changed. One is fixed route boardings, down significantly, as you've already heard. And then the other is customer complaints about personal safety and security. And the total number is down, but because our ridership is so down, that the number of boardings is down, the rate is up. So both of those are off target and very much affected by COVID-19.
So customers don't feel safe. Let's look at this. $45.90 per boarding ride on Lyft. Rides for seniors on fixed route, 12.7 million, down from 15.6. Max peak ridership is down to 28.1% from 29%. That's not very far. Retail, percent of retail accessible by transit is down barely. Battery electric buses, what is that even in there?
Shifting to the second goal, satisfied community, stakeholders, and employees, cost per boarding ride on Lyft service, and rides for seniors and persons with disabilities are down because overall ridership is down, overall demand is down, and yet we're not able to sort of shrink Lyft costs as quickly as the demand goes down, so the cost per boarding ride went up. The other one that had not changed since May, this was true June 30th, that we were operating our battery electric buses on the line 52. Since then, as I think you know, there have been additional electrical problems. They've been shipped back to the manufacturer to address and correct those, and we hope to have them back in service during this fiscal year. So as of June, we were on target. Right now, we are off target.
What?
For the third customer goal, we don't have any measures that have changed since March, so I'm going to move on to the first internal business practices goal. A number of updates with these, including passenger claims are below target, preventable deaths at 0, which is where we want to be always. Collisions and on-time performance are all in good place, in good range, partially because of COVID, because traffic has been reduced, but we were on a good path with most of those as well. On-time performance, you see we are off target for the annual average, but we are on an overall positive trend. In fact, right now we're at more like 95%, which if we stay on that kind of track, will be well above target for next year. For the rest of the measures under that goal, nothing has changed significantly since we went to press with the business plan.
All right, design and deliver. Number of enhanced transit projects, 6 projects implemented. Max reliability, all the projects are done. Division is on schedule. And Southwest Corridor, which has no funding, which is the cart before the horse. It's unbelievable that they've been able to actually do this before securing funding for it. It's just unbelievable that. But, you know, they think they have a chance to pass this tax because the tax is on the employer. It's not on the person. So they brilliantly came up with a way to word this so that citizens will think it's not on them. It's just like how they do taxes when they pass tax increases on real estate. They know the vast majority of people don't own real estate. So that's how they get those scam tax increases through. Now, Sound Transit lied to their voters about their taxes, And later it was found out that they hadn't been honest about their car registration. But too late now, it's passed, and government, doesn't have to change anything. Once you give them an inch, they take a mile. Vote no. Don't be fooled by these. You should never give the government your money. I don't care what they say it's for. It doesn't matter what this. You're giving the money away to the oligarchy. When you vote yes on a tax increase, it doesn't matter what it is. You are giving your money over to the oligarchs. That's what you're doing. You get nothing for it. Nothing. Nothing will come back. Look at the homeless taxes. They've had $1 billion in tax increases for the homeless, and the homeless problem is worse than ever. Government never delivers what they say they do. It's a culture of liars and predators.
Going to the second goal under internal business practices, the one thing that has changed is we've added a couple of enhanced transit bus projects. Those are bus lanes or intersection improvements that help buses get through traffic more quickly and move the many people that are on board through and reduce their travel time. For the last goal under internal business practices, these are both very much, the first one is very much impacted by COVID. This is about the percent of fares collected through the Hot Fast Pass.
Part of the COVID world order is to put everybody on electronic pay. They want to get rid of cash. They want everybody to use cards so they can track every single thing you do. This is all part of the agenda, the COVID agenda. This is part of the thinking there.
Program. And of course, we want that to be as high as possible to provide the benefit to our riders and to simplify our fare collection.
For you, it simplifies fare collection for the technocracy, not for the people. Cash was the best way to have this. It was always the best way. You just put your cash in and you get your ticket. But they've made it all this bullshit technology. It's just horrible.
Above target, it would have been anyways, but it's up even higher because our total ridership and therefore our total fares are down, and the Hot Fast Pass represents an even higher percentage of that. And also included in that, of course, is more recently the inability to take fares in cash, which you heard will be changing in October. The total number of taps, this is not a rate, the total number of taps is also above target, which is great because that comes even though the fact that we are down total on ridership and down total on fare collection. The first goal under people and innovation, nothing substantially has changed since we went to press.
Okay.
And then the second goal, under people and innovation.
Let's just stop here. Turnover percentage overall minus retirements, 8%. So they're having 8% turnover of the staff. That's important to know. So that's 1 in 10 is not making it, which I thought was more. Okay, acceptance to offer, what is that supposed to be? Percent of employees below their predicted compensation. Oh, Jesus. Okay, that's 31% off a top. Who are these people below? I mean, this is these backhanded raises they give to their office staff. It's all this cheating they do. Okay, average time to fill positions, 71 days, above target of 60 days. Utilization of race, non-white, 26%. Yeah, this is the race, gender politics. It's bullshit. Utilization rate, gender, female, 38% above the target. See, they set quotas for minorities and women. I'm against it because you need the best people. You can't be hiring by race and gender. I'm against that. It's one of the reasons why everybody loves Trump, by the way. Utilization rate, veterans. Okay, 7%. Persons with disabilities, 1.2%, below the target of 7%. Okay, so they're way below on this. They're way off their target for employing people with disabilities. Average score on employee survey about open and honest communication. 4.1 below a target of 4.1. What does that mean? What? Employee participation in volunteer events. Over 600 volunteers at various events. That's amazing.
Turnover, average time to fill are off target. Part of that probably has to do with some effects under COVID, but in general, just not quite hitting target. Acceptance to offer is still above target. And then the percent of employees below their predicted compensation. You can see we are off target on that, though overall we are on an improving trend, and that is a very aggressive target. Getting to zero is very difficult with this kind of measure because the predicted compensation gets modified by what the employment market is actually doing. So it's a bit of a moving target. The last goal at the bottom of the page here.
All right, stop. Let's just look at this because he's going to go. TRIMET is where diverse, talented people want to come, stay, and thrive. Yeah, right. Percent of succession plan positions with ready now or ready. What is that? I have no idea what that is. Average score on quarterly survey of employment engagement. The training and development cost as a percent of payroll. It's a bunch of crap. Foster service excellence.
Not a change, but that also milestones for employee recognition, along with a number of improvements, especially in our operations, have had to slow down a little bit just as COVID takes over a lot of the focus as it needed to. The first financial goal, first financial goal set of measures, both in positive. The first
wait, stop.
Excuse me.
Stop. Okay, fiscally sound. Not net medical costs. Okay. So they so they're screwing the employees good on this one because the target was $1,400 and they're only paying $1,265. So you're getting screwed, employees, on that. See right there. This is from the management perspective. It's good. From the perspective of you, you're fucked. You've just lost $1,800. Okay. I don't know. Oh, wait, you've lost per month. You've lost $135. Okay. Manage assets to ensure safe, improve process technology. Yeah, this is garbage. I don't know. Who knows what any of that is.
Been updated and is on target. That's the net medical benefits cost per covered employee. There's a chance that may be impacted by COVID.
Wait a minute. Let me screenshot this because this is where you're getting. Okay, that's where the employees are getting screwed. And I want to tweet that.
Bids coming in the new year. We'll see that I think in January or February. No changes under the second financial goal. And then some changes under the last financial goal where we see passenger revenue over system costs below target. That makes sense given the fact that that our demand reduced so much, which means that our fares are lower. Our system costs did come down as we reduced service, but not as much as ridership, and so the percentage is off target. Our bus operating cost actually was on target, which is great. The other modes are off target.
Stop. Okay, financial capacity, advanced regional, blah, blah, blah. Passenger revenue system cost, 18.5%. Okay, bad passenger revenue. Bus operating increased less than inflation. I thought there was no. Max operating cost per vehicle hour. I don't This stuff is so.
And part of that is also reflected probably in, or it looks like they are reflected somewhat in COVID with our reduction in total service, not able to be matched as completely by our reduction in cost with working so hard to retain employees. And then the final measure did not change because it is a budget-based measure rather than a sort of monthly service-based measure. But I did want to flag that with the substantial COVID-19 impacts because it is about new service. And with COVID-19 and the economic impacts and the recovery, we are really, in terms of service, in recovery mode and gaining back ridership and demand and recovering service, not in new service mode. But we will, of course, work to get back there as quickly as possible, but that's not the case now, and we shouldn't expect it right away. That's it for the quick measures update. A mix, a whole number of them obviously impacted by COVID, a number still headed in the right direction, some of the ones headed in the wrong direction, impacted by COVID. All of those we'll be watching as we go into the update for next fiscal year's business plan. Looking forward, we have a session next week to start talking about priorities for that next plan. There's a session in November. Both of those will be talking about business plan in addition to other items. And then in January, we'll be bringing a draft business plan for review and comment to you and to the public and to all employees. And then in March, we'd expect to finalize the business plan for FY22 so that we'll be prepared in May to ask for your adoption of the proposed FY22 budget. That is the conclusion of my presentation, and I would hand it then back over to Doug.
Great. Alan, thank you. I think, Mr. Board President, if there's any questions, happy to answer them. This is intended to be to kind of set the stage for next week. So we can either answer them now, answer them offline if people have them. But again, you'll be getting a lot more because we really want to engage the board fully next week at the board strategy session to talk about what course corrections we need to do, what objectives, and what is the fundamental environment that we're facing. Right now, we have the privilege of the CARES Act funding of about $185 million. Basically, as of we're speaking now, that is committed. The expenditures will continue to roll out. So we've been trying to manage the financial side of things prudently.
I want to know where that all went out. I'd like to know exactly how that was spent.
But those kinds of elements will factor into the building of next year's business plan. So happy to answer any questions people may have off the top.
What do they do with that, CARES?
See a couple board members with their hands raised. Lori Bauman, Director Bauman.
Yes. My question is, what kind of materials you're going to give us to review before the strategy session to set the table?
For the business plan, we'll have a draft points of emphasis, which is really what do we think about, what should we really focus in on for the next year. I think there will be some other materials for the other category, for the other information as well.
I'll finish it.
Sorry, for the other agenda items as well.
So we might see those before the end of the week?
It may be. I think I've asked for them. Great question. We should be able to get you to them by Saturday. I think we're trying to get them by end of the week. Depends on I'm trying to go through them, President Warner, by Friday of this week. So hopefully over the weekend.
Good. That's a good question, Lori. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Director Gonzalez.
Thank you. Thank you, President Warner. I had a question really on the heels of Director Bauman's comment. I'd like to be mentally prepared for this conversation, and you've provided a great primer. What are some of the major pieces of the strategic plan that you would say have been most severely impacted by the last 6 months of happenings? Where would you say we might want to really look at the timelines we've set based on the new reality here? Is there any input you could provide for that? And that question was for Alan, actually.
Well, I'm happy to say that, if you'll remember, we scrambled and did a COVID-19 update to the business plan. And so in May, I think that was, by the time we got to May, we presented to you a brief, I think a very brief presentation of the COVID-19 addendum to the business plan. And so we adjusted the timing of all of our key strategic actions that needed to be adjusted. I'm sure there's still some more work around doing that since we've got several more months worth of learning under our belts. But I'm happy to say in terms of sort of tactics and our understanding of available resources at the time, we've done a lot of those changes. So what I'm going to really be thinking about and ask you to think about is, what should we be focusing on? What are the big picture 6 or 8 issues we should be focusing on for FY 2022 that are strategic? And that's what the document that I mentioned that you'll be getting ahead of time gives you some ideas about what we've thought about it internally with staff. Where should we be focusing? And so that will hopefully seed the conversation about where you'd like us to really be thinking, what's the most important for us to think about being strategic while we also are still dealing with the tactical issues of continuing to deal with COVID-19 and the economic recovery.
Maybe can I just add to this? I really appreciate Director Gonzalez's question, and as I was listening to it, I think we need to provide to you prior to the session. So Ellen and I will undertake this over the next few days.
You do see what's happening here. It should be evident to anybody with a brain. Is you have these elites. None of them are transit bus drivers or mechanics, people who run the system, and none of them are riders. You have elites making all the decisions for you. None of them actually understand anything about it. These are all elites. This is why the system is broken, and this is why this is just basically another version of Trump. What's he want?
To really go down by our key strategic areas, key strategic initiatives, and we'll outline for you what we think is COVID impacted or a risk for next year for COVID impact, which may carry through. And I also would suggest we separate out, because COVID triggered an economic financial impact. So there's the managing of the pandemic and disease, i.e. supply of seats on a bus, as simple as that. But the other part is the economy, and it's going to play a bigger role in our financial resources. So I think we need to maybe run those parallel. So we'll try and get that to you as part of the information. At least our quick cut.
Thank you. Yeah, my fear is that we might be missing major conversations because we might not have thought about, for example, ridership and how we bring back the confidence. I mean, that's not just a COVID thing. It's going to impact many areas.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just don't want to underestimate the importance of financial oxygen to an organization. There's a lot of great...
Doug's bullshit. Financial, as I said 100 million times, the only thing that got cut was bus service, okay? So it's fake news. That's the only thing they cut. Everything else is full speed ahead, and that's why they're liars, because they present a picture that they want to present and not the true picture.
Desires and spirits of things, but if the agency does not have access to adequate funding, we have to either create new sources of funding or size the business accordingly in our services.
Yeah. And it's going to get cut.
And we'll see this across the country right now. Other agencies are going all the way through this.
They just gave him unknown amount of vacation instead of a raise. He can cash that out when he leaves. And his pay is $1,000 a day, or more than that. It's like $1,500 a day. So you give him a month off. That's $30,000 or $40,000.
Particularly those tied to sales tax.
What sales tax? What are you talking about?
Their question.
Absolutely. Ridership recovery and financial resiliency are on that list that you'd see anyway. And as Doug said, we'll dig more into that.
Well, good. Perfect. Good comment. So I think we're going to be set here to keep you on your toes here next week when we have this dialogue.
Yeah, he should be off the board. Brown,
some meaty discussions we need to get into. So thanks for
Governor Brown is corrupt. She's leaving all of these corrupt people on the board. They don't want to mess with the money train. The entire Democratic establishment of Oregon is corrupt. and it's all wrapped up in very, you know, they're like Obama's, you know. Obama wrapped up his corruption in a very neat little, very respectable package versus Trump, who just obviously is a crook and doesn't make any apologies about it.
Okay. Alan, thank you. Mr. Board President, I apologize for the length of it. There's just a lot of issues that I think the board, I wanted to make them aware today, is longer than normal. So that would conclude my report to you.
That's good. Well, you made up for it in terms of scheduling small amounts of business items for us to take action. So with that then, and I did say, chatted with everybody, said I'm not going to stop for a break because I assume people can take a break as they need to as we've been going through this morning. So I'm going to move on to the consent agenda, which really is just one agenda item, which is the approval of the board meeting minutes for August 12th, 2020, which I was not there, so I'm relying on you to tell me work. So are there comments or questions about the minutes or changes or corrections?
You up there? Yeah. Sitting on the couch?
I'm hearing none. Is there then a motion? I'm sorry.
I just want to acknowledge for the record, it was a very smoothly run meeting by Director Stovall, who made record time. Just saying.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
So should I be taking this personally? Is that what I'm hearing?
Feedback.
All right then. Is there then a motion to approve the board meeting minutes from August 12th, 2020?
So moved.
Your motion from Director Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
A second, Director Stovall. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion to approve the board minutes for August 12th, 2020, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion.
Any opposed?
No.
Any abstention? The motion is approved unanimously. All right, let's move right into our resolutions. The first resolution is Resolution 20-09-37, which is adopting a revised investment policy. Is that you, Mr. General Manager, to start this off?
People watch the election.
Yes, it is, as I try and hit unmute. Sorry, there, Bill. Yes, so this is a investment policy. This provides a framework for our accountability and our oversight and the reporting on TRIMET's investments overall. It's reviewed on an annual basis to remind the board. And this resolution replaces the existing investment policy as well as make amendments which have been reviewed and approved by the Oregon Short-Term Fund Board, or they refer to as OSTF. This updated policy is available to you. It should be in your board package, in Exhibit A of your board package. It provides one part is a clean version, and the other one is redlined to see where the changes are. There's no financial impact from the adoption of the resolution, and your recommendation is requested here.
Okay.
And I think, Dee, if there's any comments you want to provide, that'll be the time.
Thank you. As you stated, the information is very straightforward. It's been provided to you. We hope that it was easily understandable. I did have a phone call with Director Bauman, and we have made one change to the wording of the second paragraph on the first page. We changed a word to optimal. It's from maximum to optimal. Besides that, there have been no other changes to the material before you. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments by the board?
Well, quick comment, Director Stovall. The Finance Audit Committee did review these changes and adjustments. And in regards to there is no financial impact. It's really a significant amount of cleanup and ensuring that the document aligns with kind of what we need to do as an agency as we move forward with our investments.
Any other comments? Director Stovall, I'm sorry.
I'll just, since Dee referenced my conversation with her, and since there was a change to the document yesterday, and that was just changing a minor change on the first the first page about defining cash management, and saying it formally said cash management is ensuring maximum cash availability, but it's been changed to ensuring optimal cash availability. That's it.
maximal cash
Seems
available.
like a good change. Well, with that change then, is the board ready to offer a motion to
That's
approve resolution
nothing
20-09-37?
So moved.
I have a motion by Director Stovall. Is there a second?
I'm just going to go over it about a minute.
Sorry, Linda.
Okay. Was that Linda I heard?
You can choose whoever you'd like, Lori or Linda.
Okay. I'll let Kimberly figure out who buzzed in first on that one. All right.
It's a setup. Good job.
All right. So we do have a motion and on the table. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve resolution 20-09-37 signify by saying aye.
This meeting is
Aye.
over, but I got to keep taping.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion
Gary, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that's all.
All right, let's
nothing.
move on to the last resolution, which is resolution 20-09-38, which is revising TRIMET's defined contribution plan for its union represented and management and staff employees to reflect CARES Act amendments.
So what do they do?
Mr. General Manager or Dee?
Yeah, just a couple of comments for me on this one, and Dee may have others. So this is intended to ease restrictions on the employee's use of funds from retirement plans. It also eases distribution requirements. For some employees who are affected by COVID-19, the Act allowed up to 1 year delay in the repayment of the plan loans. This resolution incorporates those changes into TRIMET's defined contribution retirement plans for union employees and management. So I would comment also that these changes do not have an impact on our operating budget, and your approval is recommended.
So what's the deal then? Why even bother with it?
Dee, did you have anything else to add?
We just note that there are several changes besides the one that General Manager Kelsey noted. They're all related to making the plan's assets more accessible to people who are suffering through coronavirus-related distributions. And so there's an array of them, and all 5 of them are listed on the second page.
Why don't we get to see that?
Attached to the report.
They don't give you the actual...
Questions by the board?
Well, wait a minute. Is it in here?
I'm seeing none. And is there a motion to approve resolution 20-09-38?
So moved. Linda.
Okay. Is there a second?
I guess that's good. All right. That sounds good.
Second, Travis.
All right. Thank you. So we have a motion on the table. Is there any further discussion on this item, which seems like a fairly great opportunity to make changes to possibly benefit our employees? So it seems like a win-win all around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So any other questions?
I guess it's a win-win, right?
All right, hearing none then. All in favor of the motion to approve resolution 20-09-38, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Any abstentions? Hearing none, then the motion is approved unanimously. I'm looking at our agenda. There are no ordinances, and I know of nothing else that needs to come before the board this morning. How about the rest of the board?
The board of elitists.
I'm hearing none. I will point out again our meeting on Friday. I have been told you'll see an agenda coming out this afternoon after the board meeting, so we can be ready for that. But this is again a follow-up from our previous discussions about working together and issues that we need to work on together as a board.
As an elitist board.
There's no brief. So again, unless there's anything additional coming up, I'm going to adjourn the business meeting.
All right.
It's adjourned. There's no briefing agenda. I think we had that in the general manager's report today. And what you see below are the 2 special meetings. The September 25th, you'll get that agenda shortly, and then the September 30th, where we'll be talking about the business plan and strategic priorities, and you'll see that information.
We'll get on that one.
Saturday.
I do a little bit a day. I'm going to get through this.
I'm seeing the general manager nodding his head.
Correct.
So that's it, board. Is there anything else?
Meeting
all right.
there.
Thank you all for hanging in there. A good meeting. I think technology worked about as well as it could be. So appreciate it. And I'm going to sign off.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sign off, motherfucker. All right, the board of elites who control everybody else's lives, people who don't use the system, people that don't operate the system, are making all the decisions so you don't have to. Yippee-doo.